Well, hey there, welcome to Worth It Wednesday. Every Wednesday we send a principle worth learning, a question worth answering, and a recommendation worth taking. Today's principle is that to lead is to accept responsibility. I thought about this on a run that I was on the other day. I was running on this trail and I passed this group, maybe 4 or 5 older men and women, and I don't know exactly what they were talking about, but as I passed, one of the women said something and I literally wanted to give her a hug, right? It was tough. Now, I was a little bit sweaty and also that would just be a little bit weird, but she said something and I wanted to give her a hug because she was just so right? I didn't hear the context of the conversation. I didn't hear everything they were talking about, but I just knew that she was so correct. And here's what she said. She said, ultimately, it comes down to leadership. And it's like, I just want to be like, you're right. Yes, I want to give you a hug, right? Because it doesn't matter whether she's talking about her son's football team, whether she's talking about her office, whether she's talking about her church that she goes to, whether she's talking about the situation in her home. Maybe she's talking about her roller derby league. She didn't really look like she was in roller derby, right? It doesn't matter what she was talking about. It could have been any context. Ultimately, it comes down to leadership. And this applies directly to today's principle that to lead is to accept responsibility. Listen, within an organization, within a team, within a group of people, within a collection of individuals, the results ultimately come down to leadership. Leadership is ultimately responsible for the results that are being gotten. Because you could say, okay, well, what about the team members that they're hiring? If the team members aren't doing the work, then how is the leader responsible? Well, who hired the team members? And maybe beyond that, who's allowing the team members to stay employed? Maybe beyond that, who is allowing a pattern of underperformance to continue because they haven't properly voiced expectations? And so the leader is ultimately responsible. And so leadership is not whether or not you are responsible, because leadership is responsibility. To lead is to accept the responsibility that you have. And so this really kind of applies to an element of integrity. I read something recently that Henry Cloud was talking about integrity as it relates to character. And he said something to the effect of character is the ability to courageously confront reality. And isn't that so true? So there are some leaders who lack character, and in lacking character, they deny responsibility that is theirs. They look at the results of what's going on and they blame and they point fingers and they look at circumstance and they talk about other people, other scenarios, things other people didn't do, and yet they're not accepting responsibility, they're denying it. But then there's leaders of deep-seated character, and these leaders of deep-seated character have one thing in common, in that not everything goes right. There's things that fail, there's things that falter, there's mistakes that are made even by other people. But whenever it comes to accepting responsibility, the leader is the one to own it. Now, there's a point that's worth making here that we shouldn't look away from, and Jocko Willink kind of highlighted this in his book, The Dichotomy of Leadership. To accept responsibility doesn't mean to seize control. So sometimes when people think of this idea of extreme ownership or of accepting full responsibility, that makes them into someone that's incredibly untrustworthy because they don't dole out responsibility so that people have the authority and ability to make decisions and take actions. And so we have to remember what Jocko would say is this dichotomy of, yes, responsibility is ultimately mine, and if I don't accept responsibility, then I'm not going to experience freedom of being able to actually take action and make change. But that doesn't mean that you're not willing to release control and release the ability to take actions and make decisions. But let's not forget the principle. To lead is to accept responsibility.